Before we get into recovery, I just remembered one more thing I want to share with you, and that is about Pitocin, right? Pitocin is a very common drug that is used through delivery, sometimes in the beginning of labor to help facilitate contractions, right? That's what Pitocin does. So it helps to facilitate contractions, and they might give her in slow doses to help ramp that up. Even if she wants a vaginal birth, no epidural, just to speed things up, they might, add or ask and, consider Pitocin to help speed up contractions. And also, so you know, a lot of times in hospital centers, they will give Pitocin, even if your woman had a total natural birth, they might put some Pitocin in at the end to help shrink and contract her uterus to start getting it back to normal size. So I just wanted to bring up Pitocin because that's a common drug used through birth. So you know, and if you hear Pitocin, that's what it does. Okay? All right, on to recovery. In the recovery room, essentially, you guys are recovering. Okay? This is the best time to get in there and start connecting with your baby. What's going to happen with your woman is she will get these super sexy fishnet panties, okay? And they will give her some pads, right? Because she's still going to be bleeding, all right? And just so you know, and from the other side again, like a lot of women don't recognize and they don't hear or remember that they heard, your woman could bleed up for, 4 more weeks after birth, and that's considered normal. Spotting, okay? Not like some heavy flow of blood, but they're going to be bleeding for a little while till everything starts to come back to normal. All right? So that first night in a hospital setting, they're checking on her, they're checking her blood pressure, they're going to give her stool softeners because everything's swollen and sore, down in her pelvis, okay? So that's what's going to be happening with her. They're going to be changing her pads because of the blood. That first, that first day after she gives birth, it's going to be ice, right? They're going to do those little ice packs on her crotch, on her vagina. It's going to help her. It's going to feel good because she's swollen and it's painful, right? So it's sore, more sore and swollen. So the ice is going to feel good. The ice pack is going to bring down the swelling, take out inflammation. It's going to be relieving to her. Just so you know, that's like the first day. The second day, they're going to move more to heat, warm packs to then start bringing in nutrients and start the healing process going. That's kind of how that flows with your woman, okay? If everything else is relatively normal, all right? If she had a C-section, you're looking at a longer recovery time, okay? 1 week, 2 weeks. She's going to be super sore at least for 2 weeks. And look, the healing process, is she super toned, super fit? Is she an exerciser? Is she not an exerciser? Are her abs strong normally? Are they not? A lot of that stuff comes into play with the healing process, okay? And regardless, within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, she's really going to be back up moving again without any other complications. Standard issue C-section, no complications, all right? Within a month, she's going to be really pretty good. And I'm going to share with you at the end in a bonus video a little technique you can use after she's fully healed to make sure that the scar didn't leave any after effects, because sometimes with the scar, it affects how the muscles fire, okay, and connect. And I'm going to share with you a little technique that can make sure that everything's firing properly, right? Because if her abs aren't firing properly, she's going to have a lot of back pain. And this could really help you shine to get things moving properly. Okay, I'm going to talk about that after. All right. So you're in the recovery room. That's what's going on with your woman. They might give her some Advil. They might give her some painkillers like that. And essentially you guys are chilling out. In the recovery room with the first baby, there's oftentimes friends and family if they're in town, okay? And you're also managing all of that. Now, look, most of the people who are making an effort to come to the hospital, you want them to be there, right? All I'm saying is I do hear sometimes there's the random person from your office who just needed to come and celebrate with you, and your wife doesn't even know who it is, and they're like, who the hell is this? And you're like, oh, that's Jimmy from up the hall. And okay, manage the room, okay? We want to make sure she's comfortable and feeling safe. And look, if she's tired, you guys can have a little signal, get rid of them. Most of the time, things work out and you got people there who you want to be there and it's not an issue. And at the same time, if she's tired, you guys are beat, you want some privacy, send them home, okay? Send them home. You're going to see everyone soon enough. All right, so you're managing the room, and now is really the time in the recovery room to start connecting with your baby, okay? If you're going to be holding your baby, definitely skin on skin. And this is such a great time. You want to get in there, change the baby's first diaper like a champ, okay? And another really amazing way to start connecting with your baby is, okay, to move them around, right? Move them in their ranges of motion. Because look, it can be a little weird. I'm just saying, like, it's this little being, especially if you're not used to dealing with little beings, it can be weird, right? So the more courage you have to get in there and start, getting over those hurdles, whatever apprehensions you may have about getting in there, the sooner, the more courageous you, and they want to connect with you, right? So a great way, and also a lot of us dudes, it's like, how physical can we be? How do I hold the baby? And, the basic holding, the main thing. Their head and neck, the muscles aren't there yet. So the main thing for you to shine, just make sure you're supporting the head and neck. Okay, then you're going to figure out the safest, best way that you feel comfortable holding the baby. Even from the time they're born, you can be holding them like this, with their head on your hand. As long as the head is supported and you have them, right? You want to feel confident. As long as their head is supported and you're holding them like that, right? You're going to hold them in your arms like this, the old-fashioned with the head in the nook of the arm, and you're holding them close. As long as you're supporting the back of their head and their neck and holding them close and skin on skin, you're going to be in business, okay? So as you're getting to know them, ranges of motion, right? Their body moves the same way ours move. Their joints move the same way ours move. So move them, move their legs, okay? Kiss their feet, okay? Move their arms around. You want to start touching them as soon as possible so they get familiar with you touching them, all right? Just don't move their joints in the wrong direction, okay? Go easy. And just play with your new toy, man, right? Touch them, feel them, give them a little squeeze, give them kisses. This is the way to start bonding and connecting with them, right? Maybe you're right on the bed here. Maybe the baby's in, but your woman's sitting with her legs here, and you're all right there together, all right? That's the way to start bonding and connecting with your kid right away. For sure, you're in there changing the diapers, and this is the best way to really start connecting you and the baby. And again, skin on skin, baby, okay? Bring it in, right? Take that shirt off, get in there with your kid. Okay, beautiful. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is circumcision, if your baby's having a circumcision, all right? We talked briefly about this in infant management skills. If your baby's going to have a circumcision and you're in a hospital setting, that's going to happen 12 hours, anytime after 12 hours old, they're fair game to get a circumcision unless it's your custom to do it at home 8 days later. All right? So let's just say it's after 12 hours. most of the time, okay, your OB will do the circumcision. They'll come get your baby, all right? They're going to bring him to either a little room if they have a nursery in that hospital, or a little surgical room where they do these little procedures. Junior's going to be on a contoured board, all right? He's going to be bound so he doesn't move around. And these days, again, we had covered it, but again, there's two different techniques that they'll use. One is a plastibell, where they tie a piece of surgical string around his foreskin, okay? And it's going to cut off the blood supply, and his foreskin will fall off in a couple of days, okay? And or the other technique is where they take a little tool. First and both, of course, they take the little tool. They break the adhesions around the tip of his pecker, okay? So it looks like a little dental scraper, but with a metal ball on the end. And they stick that in between the foreskin and his pecker head, break the adhesions, pull the foreskin up, tie the string, or they break the adhesions, take this little tool, they push down his pecker head, pulls up the foreskin, clamp the foreskin. That's it, okay? Again, yes, it hurts. And he won't remember, and this is a real mommy, daddy, decision that you guys need to make. Ultimately, it comes down to what you guys want, okay? The big question is, are you going to be okay if you are or you're not, and he is? If it's different, the big question is, Daddy, how come my penis is different than your penis? Right? That's the big question that you want to be able to sleep okay at night, saying it's different because this. That's ultimately what it comes down to, okay? Whether you make the decision for cleanliness reasons and look, these days, if you teach your kid how to clean his penis, he's going to have a clean penis, okay? If you teach him how to do it. You know what I mean? If you teach him how to take care of it, he'll know how to take care of it regardless of what it looks like. All right? So it's a personal deal. I wish you the best of luck. And whatever you decide to do, that's kind of how it works. All right? So they're going to bring you back home, back to your room, a circumcised little penis if you chose to do that. They're also going to go over the care of it, right? So antibiotic ointment, gauze each time. Each OB is different. Sometimes they say you only need to do that for the first couple of days. Things are always changing like that, or you're never going to go wrong by putting some antibiotic ointment and wrapping it in gauze every time you change it until it's fully healed. Circumcised pecker within 2 weeks should be fully healed, okay? 2 weeks, fully healed, okay? Really pretty normal looking by the first week or so. All right. When they bring him back to you, he's going to be tired, right? He just went through an ordeal, right? He was birthed, 12 hours ago, and they're cutting off the tip of, the foreskin of his penis. Okay. So he's going to be tired from this whole thing. Okay. So now, again, you're hanging out in the room, right? How do you want that to go? Are you going to bring in some DVDs or a Fire Stick? You're watching your iPad, you're watching movies, you're pretty much just hanging out, all right? You are going to be visited by a lactation consultant and a pediatrician, preferably yours, who might have rounds at that hospital, or they have a relationship so they can come in and give your baby a little checkup. Like, that's going to happen. They're going to check out the baby. Their lactation consultant is going to come in and help facilitate breastfeeding if that didn't happen already. And again, we had spoke a bunch about these lactation consultants, and they really just want to help. And even if there's some kind of resistance, say, hey, sweetheart, yes, we really do want to breastfeed. Sally really wants to breastfeed, but, let's just go easy here, okay? It's not working so smoothly, or it's great and everything's working smoothly, depending on the circumstance. Get the help. If you're a woman and you already know if she wants to breastfeed and make it a success out of it, bring that woman in. Any help is going to be good if you guys are connecting. And look, she rolls in and you don't get the best vibe and you don't click. Hey, do you mind if we get a different lactation consultant in here, right? Or she leaves and then you tell the nurse, hey, I didn't really jive with that lactation consultant. Is there anybody else? Well, there's another one, Betsy. She's coming in a few hours. Maybe they send in Betsy. Okay, maybe you connect with the other one. All right, so that's all going to happen. You're also, while you're in the hospital or birthing center, you will also have the opportunity to fill out the birth certificate form, social security form, birth certificate form, to get all those things. And a lot of that stuff, you could fill it out, mail it in, depending on where you're living, okay? Some of that stuff you're just going to do online, although in the initial stuff, there is going to be documents that you need to fill out for your kid. You could do that within the first couple days while you're in the hospital, birth center. Okay, if you're at home, your midwife, she's going to let you know, she'll have the birth certificate form and all of those things for you. All right, so those are all things that are going to happen in that first 24 hours. And really, you're hanging out until it's time to go home. When it is time to go home, right, you're going to get some warning. Okay, you could ask, hey, when do we get discharged? And they're going to say, okay, you're going to be able to be discharged at this time. Fantastic. They'll come in. They'll do what they do to discharge you, all right? And one thing for you to be conscious of, that sometimes you're also going to be visited by the financial person to pay for the hospital stay. Depending on your hospital or birthing center, maybe you paid for everything up front. Maybe you already made your agreements and figured out how the payments are going to happen, right? A lot of times some of this goes through insurance. Sometimes somebody will come in and ask you to go down to the payment office. Sometimes they'll come into the room. My point here is sometimes they'll come in the room and hand you a bill. And if you don't realize that you can defer the payment, right? Or you need to check with your insurance. You don't need to pay them right here. I mean, unless you're in some kind of circumstance where that's the case, most times you can defer the payment. All right. So I'm saying that because I've had some guys that didn't know, they just didn't know. And they got the bill and they're like, okay. And they handed them the credit card and they just weren't prepared for this, $6,000-$7,000 bill. And they felt like they were supposed to pay right away. That's not typically the case. Okay. So speak up. Hey, just so you have an understanding and you don't get slapped with a $7,000 bill, whatever the bill is, when you weren't expecting it, there's a lot of emotions and stuff going on. Most of the time, that's not the case and you can pay it out or however you're planning on paying. All right. So it's time to rock and roll. You get discharged and this is what's going to happen. All right. They're going to give you a cart. You're going to put all your stuff on that cart. You're going to bring it out to your car, okay, or however you're getting home. And then you're going to bring up your car seat. Now, you could have already brought your car seat up, whatever you want to do, however you want to do that with the car seat. They're not going to let you go unless you have a car seat, all right? And most hospital centers, they're not really checking your car seat unless your kid was in the NICU, they had some kind of health issue, and then they're going to make sure there's enough space that their chest can expand and contract, because sometimes it's so tight, okay? Now, there are places to get them checked. Yes, sometimes local fire departments you want to call first. Sometimes, they don't all do that anymore, depending on your area. All right, you can get your car seat checked. And we're going to talk a little bit about car seats in the safety section, okay? So don't worry about that if you were or not, okay? You bring up the car seat. You're going to get the baby in a cute little outfit, put it in the car seat, lock it all in. And what most of the time happens in hospitals for sure, they're going to put the baby on mama's lap in a wheelchair and they wheel you out. Okay. And depending, that may be the case in the birth center. If you're at home, you're not going anywhere. So you're at home already. And depending on the circumstance, although in most hospital settings, that is the case, baby in the car seat on mama's lap, and they wheel you guys out. All right? Now, you're going to get to those doors. The doors are going to open. Fresh air is going to sweep over you. And I know there's a lot going on here, and you're excited to get in the car and get going home. And I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention, even with all this stuff going on, if you can take a quick second, right, to just kind of be like, wow, and be conscious of the fact that this is a once in a lifetime, it's so cool situation. You guys went into this place as a pregnant couple, and you are emerging as a family. So you get everybody in the car and you start driving home. I will say the drive home is sometimes a little surreal, right? I mean, again, you just became this family and you're super conscious of the road and everything else. It's kind of crazy, all right? So you make it home, and driving with your baby becomes more and more natural. Clearly, the more you do, you just kind of get used to it. Although I will say there's usually a heightened level of alertness and awareness, okay, when you're driving. That just happens. It's part of driving around with a little kid in the car. So you make it home. Now, first of all, congratulations, okay? You made it through. You are totally set, right? From pre-birth, knowing what to do, how to start getting ready. You now have a really good idea of all the different circumstances that can happen through the birth, post-birth, what's going on, getting connected with your kid, changing the diapers, helping mom. All right, and now you've made it home. Congratulations. The next topic I want to talk to you about is some general health and wellness. So you have some guidelines as to what's normal, what's not normal, right? So you could feel a little more empowered and confident when you're managing your baby at home by yourselves. All right, so we're going to talk about some health and wellness, general guidelines, some safety, and then we're going to roll into postpartum and what to do, early detection, and best practices to make that phase also as smooth a transition as possible. All right, coming up next.